It's time. The Florida Gators are about to embark on a summer that will shape their entire 2025 recruiting class.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And if you don't know, it's Wednesday, which is the best day of the week. It's hump day. And if you don't know, I am Brandon Olsen, the host of Locked On Gators. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon if you want. And this week starts official visits for the Florida Gators with the 2025 recruiting class. This staff is known for using the spring to gain momentum and the summer to gain commits. It's going to be happening at some point soon. Starting with the offensive recruits, by the way, if you're part of the Locked On Gators Insider program, I need, even if you're not part of it, I need some help here. I need a name for when I'm submitting a prediction for us with Locked On. Okay, I don't want to call it Locked On Locks. That's too corny. But I don't want to sound like I'm saying it's a lock. It's just my prediction. We got 3 of them right now in the Locked On Gators Insider program. If you want to join that, description's in the link below. But just that's where I'm at. I need a name for it. I don't know what you want to call it, what we want to call it. But I need a name for it. The Florida Gators have 7 offensive recruits visiting or officially visiting this weekend that we have ahead of time. They have 7 defensive as well. We're going to start with the offensive, which quarterback Antoine Hill, offensive tackle Zaire Addison, wide receiver Joshua Moore, wide receiver Nashawn Montgomery, who I'll tell you now is someone that I put in one of those predictions for whatever the hell we're going to call them, really. Tight end Micah Jones, tight end Tayshawn Gelsey, and running back Chad Gasper, who is already a commit with Florida. But I will tell you now, the predictions that I made were wide receiver Kobe Howard, wide receiver Nashawn Montgomery, and tight end Tayshawn Gelsey. Whether it happens or not, those are the equivalent of my crystal balls, fong bombs, RPMs, whatever you want to call them. I don't care. Those are my equivalent with Locked On Gators. And I will be completely honest about this. I like the Florida Gators getting Antoine Hill on campus. I like getting good players on campus. I don't think it's very likely, though, that Antoine Hill winds up a Florida Gator. And it's been no real secret. We've talked about it on this show before multiple times at this point, where the Florida Gators want to land 2 quarterback commits this cycle. And that's awesome, right? Realistically, it's probably going to be a bit hard to convince kids that, hey, you should come commit to the Florida Gators. You and another kid should come commit to the Florida Gators when you have all of the hype around DJ Lagway. Because all of the hype, and again, kids don't perform to expectations. Things happen, right? Where it's realistic to say, hey, as a team, you need to go out and recruit these kids. Like, you need to recruit extra quarterbacks, even if you have the guy that you think is the next great Florida Gators quarterback in DJ Lagway. Even if you have him, you need to go out and recruit other quarterbacks. I just scratched myself in the eye. You need to go out and recruit other quarterbacks. It's hard to get those kids, especially the ones that are blue chip players, to come and commit to play when they look at it and they say, hey, well, at best, I'm waiting until year 3? I'm waiting until year 3 to play. Again, because assuming at this point you're a 2025 kid, DJ Lagway sits this year, starts 2025, 2026, and then you get your shot. Maybe DJ Lagway could come back for another year. There could be other kids that come in. And it's not necessarily a scared of competition thing. It's that older kids tend to start. Like, guys who have been there tend to start. So I do think it's hard to sell blue chip players. I do think most of us, myself included, look at Florida State commit Trammell Jones as a realistic option. I do think he could be a commit for the Florida Gators, but he's kind of it right now. Again, you'd have to look for a 3-star that's just glad to get an offer from an SEC program, compete, and maybe become a guy. But yeah, that's it's hard. It's going to be hard to convince 2 quality quarterback commits to come to Gainesville, at least in my opinion. Chad Gasper, who I mentioned, love what he can do at running back. We've talked about him a lot. He's a very versatile back. I mean, you look at his highlight tape, he's playing out wide, he's playing in the slot, he's playing running back right behind the quarterback in pistol, which we talked about that. I had an NFL running back give me some insight to that. And he's like, yeah, it's way harder to run out of pistol. So finding a kid who plays in a pistol offense definitely helps you out there. It's absolutely beneficial to have a kid who's used to playing in that pistol offense and used to running out of that pistol set there. Looking at the tight ends, like I said, I think Florida's got a really good shot at landing at least one of the tight ends that are on campus this week. And I'm not saying that they'll commit while they're on campus during this OV. But Tayshawn Gelsey is the one that I would look at as more likely, and I think pretty likely it happened. Not just that he's more likely than Micah Jones, who I also feel pretty decent about, but just looking at how Tayshawn Gelsey's kind of recruitment arc has gone, it's that Florida wasn't really in on him. Florida gives him an offer, immediately have an OV set up, and it's moving really fast. And I feel like when things start to pick up in recruiting like this, it wouldn't shock me if he committed this weekend. Just again, things are moving very quickly. He's a Florida kid. There's no doubt in my mind that this is something that he's clearly very excited for. So it wouldn't shock me if he committed this weekend. I'm not going to bank on that, though, especially when we've got a long time until signing day and even until the midsummer months when things tend to heat up a good bit. But I would say Tayshawn Gelsey is a name to look at for the Florida Gators and expect, or maybe not expect, but really don't be surprised if it happens. Offensive tackle, Zaire Addison. He's not going to announce until August, so don't expect anything this weekend. And if it does happen, my mind would be blown. But there's public and private confidence about Zaire Addison wanting to commit to the Florida Gators, or not Zaire Addison wanting to commit there, but there's public and private confidence that he will want to commit to the Florida Gators when he makes his decision in August. I think this is a need to land. Just with how offensive line recruiting has gone so far, I think this is one that Florida, you gotta really hunker down and land Zaire Addison. He's a guy that I'm not giving a prediction for, but I'm saying if I were in Billy Napier, Rob Sale, Jonathan DeCoster, if I'm in any of their shoes, I'm going Zaire. Like, buddy, what do we need to make happen here? Because we need you to get here. Obviously, do not actually say those words because that's how lawsuits happen. But that's an approach to take. It's just like, what do we got to do to get you here? Make it happen. Like, whoever needs to make it happen, make it happen. Zaire Addison's a must get for me. And then the last player that we're really going to talk about is wide receiver Nashawn Montgomery. He's one of the more likely Gator commits. I think he is a player that I felt comfortable enough putting a prediction in for, because I do think that when it's all said and done, he will commit to the Florida Gators. He fits what they like stylistically, and they openly tell him that. Obviously, they tell players whatever they want. But realistically, Nashawn Montgomery is someone who can play out wide in the slot, put him in the backfield, use him on jet sweeps, use him on end arounds, reverses, whatever it is that you want to do. He does all that. And Florida, they basically look for one guy that can play on the outside always. And then based on what the recruiting that they've done so far, is that in high school, they're just looking for athletes that can play inside out. That's what they're looking for. Athletes inside out, do it, boom. And right now, Florida, they've only got one wide receiver commit for the 2025 cycle, and it's Josiah Abdullah. And again, I've given my prediction for Kobe Howard. I've given my prediction for Nashawn Montgomery. That's 3 of your 4. We know that the Florida Gators are looking to add 4 receivers in this cycle. You get Josiah Abdullah, you get Nashawn Montgomery, you get Kobe Howard, and well, you got one spot left that I would expect to be a bigger receiver. We'll say I don't want to say necessarily taller. I feel like Florida's very like 6'2's taller than what Florida usually brings in, but that's not necessarily a tall receiver. But that is what I would expect with that last pick, with that last addition at receiver, really. It is someone in that 6'2-ish range. We're about to talk about the defensive side of the ball that's going to be on campus this weekend. But first, a quick word from FanDuel. It is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bets, $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count. And I need to remind you, just my favorite day of the week now is no longer Wednesday for hump day. During baseball season, it's Tuesday for Dinger Tuesday. Dinger Tuesdays, you bet $25 on a player to hit a home run. If they hit a home run, great, you win the bet and you get bonus bets, right? If they don't hit a home run, you do get $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit in that game, up to $25. So, hey, pick a spot at the home run friendly park. Cincinnati Reds, just saying. Philadelphia Phillies, just saying. Just saying. That's all I'm saying. And when there's a lot of home runs, you make your money back. You can bet on a long shot, on a favorite, whatever it is. Just saying. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every playoff shot count. Remember that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And we're going to not even wrap up, but we're going to go now to talking about defensive recruits that are taking OVs this weekend. I will say outright that I'm less confident, I'll say, in Florida landing these players. Like I do think that they walk away with 2, maybe 3 of the names. We'll talk about who those are. There are 3 names that I think Florida's got a pretty good shot at, and I think that you will eventually walk away with 2, maybe 3 of them. But I'm less confident in specific players at this point. Like looking at this list, it's edge Javian Hilson, who is currently a Florida State commit, defensive lineman Myron Charles, safety Jalen Morgan, linebacker Christian Gass, defensive lineman Jarquez Carter, defensive lineman Jeremiah McLeod, who is currently a Florida Gators commit, and defensive back Caleb Singleton. We've talked about, I think, every one of these players on this show with Brian Smith, except for Jalen Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. And looking at that list of 7 players, I think that there are 3 players that the Florida Gators have a pretty good shot at. That's defensive lineman Jarquez Carter. That is linebacker Christian Gass. That is defensive back Caleb Singleton. Caleb Singleton's listed as athlete. Defensive back is where he'll play for the Florida Gators. Jarquez Carter on the defensive line is a big one that I think my knee just cracked so loud. That was wild. Jarquez Carter is a big one. I'm leaving it in there. I want to know if that could be heard. Jarquez Carter is a big one that Gators fans, myself included, are hoping will commit to Florida. The thing about Jarquez Carter is that as much as Florida Gators fans go, hey, get the commitment this summer, this is almost definitely going to be a commitment that you're going to have to be patient for. And hey, good things come to those who wait, right? But with Jarquez Carter, he said that he doesn't want to commit until after his Ohio State visit. His Ohio State visit is in the fall. So don't expect a decision on Jarquez Carter, but just know that as it presently stands on May 29th, the Florida Gators are in pretty dang good position to land him. And again, he's one of the 3 players that I think Florida should be. How about this? Because I keep saying, I think they have a pretty good shot. Florida should be considered not surprising if he commits there. Does that help? Does that make it better or worse? That I'm just saying. I'm not laying a prediction, but Florida's in good spot for Jarquez Carter. At linebacker, Christian Gass was, I want to say, the first or second linebacker recruit that we talked about in this entire 2025 class with Brian Smith. It was either Christian Gass or Tavion Wallace that we talked about first at linebacker. I'm a huge fan of both. I've been very vocal about that. For me, Tavion Wallace is number one. I don't know what the coaching staff thinks of linebacker. I don't know what other insiders think of linebacker, but I watch the linebackers that Florida's really in on, and for me, it's Tavion Wallace. Go get him. Go get him. He that's my Zaire Addison on offense, where I'm like, hey, just tell anybody, like, whatever we got to do to get you, get you. Do that with Tavion Wallace. With Christian Guess, I can tell you that from my knowledge, confidence is decently high in Gainesville that they will walk away with Christian Guess. I'm not saying that it's going to happen this weekend. Again, and if it did, wouldn't shock me. I don't think it's going to happen this weekend, but if it did, it wouldn't shock me. Florida feels pretty good about him. I think publicly, Florida Gators fans feel pretty good about him, which again isn't saying much, but I think Florida Gators fans are one of the better fan bases as far as following recruiting breadcrumbs. And Christian Gass is one where we're like, oh, it just might be a thing. Saying so, Christian Gass is one of the top linebackers in the class for me as well. It's just Tavion Wallace for me is number one. Christian Gass is probably number two, if we're being honest about it. So Christian Gass is one that Florida, make it happen. And then defensive back that I mentioned, Caleb Singleton. He's someone that it's one of those instances where the coaching staff thinks that he's best suited to play safety. And he said, hey, like they also could see me playing corner. And I feel like every time there's any DB that we talk about and we go, yeah, could be a safety. Yeah, he could also play corner, but like he's probably going to be put at safety. But he could also play corner. I feel like that's just in 2 years, this kid's going to be playing star. Does that make sense? That I feel like every time we talk about a player and we go, yeah, he's probably going to start at safety, but he could also play corner. They just end up at star because that's ultimately what Florida typically looks for at multiple coaching staffs. At star, they typically look for a guy that can play corner, a guy that can play safety. But ultimately, I feel like that's usually a guy where 2 years down the line, maybe even 3 years down the line, we go, yeah, turns out this whole time, the guy that can play safety and corner can play star. Who would have thought? They can make that little triangle, like how in the, like, and if you don't know what I mean by the triangle, I mean, on the outside, you've got a corner. At the top, I guess it's the right angle. Outside, you got a corner. At the top, you got your safety, and then you go right down from the safety. You go right inside from the corner, and there's the star just standing there, just like, "Hi, it's me. Yep, that's me. I've been here this whole time. You thought I could play both spots. Turns out I could actually do the harder one. That's just Caleb Singleton. If he's a Florida Gator, is going to play star. That's what I'm taking away from it. I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I'm wrong. I've said that before. I don't necessarily care if I'm right or if I'm wrong, as long as you know that you're getting my honest opinion, my honest evaluation, my honest feelings about these players, about this team, this program. That's what I care about. I'm here to educate, entertain, and be honest with you. And that's just how I feel about Caleb Singleton. It's not a knock at all. I've said before, I've played safety. I've played corner. I couldn't play star. I tried it. It didn't work out. As far as before we end the show, as far as edge rusher Javian Hilson, the Florida State commit, it's nice to get an official visit, especially from a rival commit. But this is like the Antoine Hill situation. I'm like, I don't think he's going to be a Florida Gator. I just don't. I don't know if Javian Hilson stays with Florida State. I think that's one of the bigger things that you can accomplish if you're the Florida Gators this weekend is just pull him away from Florida State and just have him turning his head a little bit and hopefully get him to flip somewhere. Ideally, he flips to you, but if you could just get him to pull enough away from Florida State and commit somewhere else, then hey, I'm happy with it. I'm happy screwing over a rival. I don't care if we get the kid or not. You don't. That makes me happy. I'm a generational hater. Okay, that makes me happy to see. And so Javian Hilson, I don't think will be a Florida Gator. I also don't think he'll be a Florida State Seminole, though. I do think that he will flip one way or another to another program, and he will not be a Florida State Seminole. Hopefully, I'm right. We're going to wrap up talking about basketball today, but first, a quick word from a couple sponsors. Todd Golden and the Florida Gators got Will Richard back. And I just almost took out my whole desk. I'm having a good day. Todd Golden and the Florida Gators, within the past week, got Will Richard back and Walter Clayton Jr. back. Don't look now, but are the Florida Gators back? The people are asking, and the people are me and Q, and we're asking if the Florida Gators are back. Will Richard and Walter Clayton Jr. both declared for the NBA draft after the season. And when both of them declared, we kind of went out and pretty much everybody in Florida Gators fan base kind of went, we expect you back. Like we know you're really good for college basketball. But like we don't think you're a good NBA draft prospect right now. And, I think for me, I don't know who I thought was more likely to actually go. Because Walter Clayton Jr. is a damn good scorer. He's got his flaws, specifically turning the ball over, specifically in crucial times. Will Richard, as far as a 3-and-D wing guy goes, I think he's pretty dang good at it. So that's why I was like, well, does the shot creator and scorer go to the NBA that's increasingly like, hey, let's get our ball handlers in space. Let's go small ball, have multiple people that can create and score, get to it. Is that the guy that NBA teams are going to like? Or is it the guy that's a 3-and-D wing and you go, hey, like that's perfect. Like you could be a role player for years for us. So I wasn't sure who would be more likely to go. Luckily, they're both back. So when the Florida Gators added Elijah Martin from Florida Atlantic FAU, Ruben Chinyelu from Washington State, and Sam Alexis from Chattanooga, when they added those three guys out of the portal, I feel like we were kind of all right unanimously with Portal God Todd is back, right? And so when he added those three players, we were like, all right, Todd Golden did a pretty damn good job of rebuilding the roster. You also lost Tyrese Samuel. He's out of eligibility. You lost Riley Kugel to the transfer portal where he went to Kansas initially. And then I forgot where he even wound up. Maybe Louisville? Remember Louisville? I forget. I kind of lost interest when he initially committed to Kansas. And then weeks later, it was like, oh, maybe not. So yeah, that is what it is. Hopefully the best for him. Still a fan. Like I still think he could be pretty good. But then you talk about, all right, like Todd Golden did a decent job of rebuilding this roster. And then again, that whole time, we were kind of just like, hey, if you can get either Walter Clayton Jr. back or Will Richard back, Florida Gators are probably going to be pretty damn good next year. Ideally, Walter Clayton Jr. was the guy that comes back. Like I said, I don't know who's more likely to go, who NBA teams like more. I know that if you're giving me a choice between Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard, I want Walter Clayton Jr. back because that gives you another guy who can create and score. And that's what I'd love to see. So Walter Clayton Jr. is back. Will Richard's back. And again, at least myself, I was kind of just like, hey, if you can get one of them back, you're in a good spot. But getting both of them back, and this is so far down the line. This is so far down the road. But at the same time, it's right around the corner. That's just how college athletics work. It's like, yeah, we got plenty of time. And then things just happen. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's opening night. And so for Florida, I feel like, again, we're way out right now. But I feel like this early, you have to feel pretty good about Florida at least being a high seed. Like on paper, this is a team where you look at the roster and you go, they were decent last year. They added good players in the transfer portal. And they got back 2 of their top 5 players. You feel pretty good about that, right? You've got the returning production. You've got continuity with your bench and your depth. And then you went out into the transfer portal and added really 3 guys who are probably going to be early impact players. Have to feel pretty good about that. And again, like I've said before, like I don't count my chickens before they hatch. I don't have chickens. I live in New York City. I don't have chickens, I promise you. But you get the saying. I don't count my chickens before they hatch. But the Florida Gators need to get better in 3 key areas for me to really be just like, if you don't make it to the Sweet 16 minimum, this is a lost season. Hell, honestly, if you get better in these areas, I'm pushing if you don't make it to the Elite 8, this is a lost season. Turnovers, there were quite a few times, and I don't even just mean situationally. I mean in general. The Florida Gators turned the ball over more than you'd like. They were there number-wise, like analytically wise, but Todd Golden likes they were there. They hit the mark that they felt you need to hit in order to not cost you games. I'd like to see it come down a little bit. I do think that they benefited from some really good games where they took care of the ball, but there were too often turnovers. Free throws, which I'm going to be honest, the transfer portal additions didn't help you a ton there. Ruben Chignello and Sam Alexis, bad free throw shooters. Just yucky free throw shooters. But again, like there's plenty of time to grow and develop and work on that. That's something that, again, I always say it frustrates me when college basketball players specifically are bad at free throws and NBA players too, because that's like the one thing you can consistently work on by yourself. Like just go to the facility, just put up free throws. Be like, hey, I'm not leaving until I make 200 free throws. I don't care how long it takes. I'm gonna get good at it. That's so many. They're free, and they're just points that you leave. Just especially in college where you have the 1-and-1 bonus, where like in the NBA you get fouled, you're getting 2 free throws no matter what. So if you miss the first one, make the second, at least you got a point. In college, you have the 1-on-1 where you're leaving additional points. You're not just leaving the free throw that you missed the first free throw. You're missing. You're leaving the potential of that second free throw on the board. And this is like the nerdiest conversation to have of like, imagine how many points you'd have if you at least made that first free throw. How many points you've left on the table. But really, like you want to win within the margins, and this is one of the margins. So for me, free throws need to improve, and game management. Far too often, the Florida Gators blew games last year for whatever reason, whether it was just, hey, we were up 6 and we kind of just took our foot off the gas with a minute left and we just stood there and then we chucked up a bad shot and gave them a quick opportunity. Whatever it was, game management last year was too inconsistent and too bad. Just I'm going to be honest with you. I think it was bad. That's unacceptable if you want to make a deep run here. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I'm probably going to post the basketball clips separately as well. So if you see another video going up, it's going to be that. Just so people that only care about basketball can see the basketball content as well on YouTube. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.